In this video, we're going to look at a common algebra mistake, one that I regularly see students make, and even experienced students, for example a calculus student, might still make this error in their working. So we're talking here about a bracket being squared. So if you're brand new to this and you see a bracket being squared for the first time, then instinctively you might think that you just square everything inside the bracket, and that kind of makes sense, right? So you would take the x and you would square it, and then you would add to that the 4 being squared, and that's what students will do the first time they ever see this scenario, and then they might even go ahead and simplify that to x squared plus 4 squared, which is 16. But that's not correct, because when you square anything, whether it's a bracket or a number or an algebraic term, you're multiplying the thing to itself. So if you want to process x plus 4 all squared, so in other words x plus 4 with a squared outside the bracket, then you've got to keep in mind that that really is just a shorthand way of writing x plus 4 multiplied to x plus 4. And when you multiply two brackets together, you should get 4 terms. So we can draw little guidelines on to remind us how to multiply two brackets together. And basically it's everything in the first bracket multiplying to everything in the second. And if we go ahead and process that, we'll get x times x to give us an x squared. X times 4 gives us a 4x, we get a second 4x, and then 4 times 4 gives us the number term on the end, which is 16. We can simplify this by combining the two x terms, and we get x squared plus 8x plus 16, which is not quite the same as what we got up here. So if you're brand new to algebra and you've never seen a bracket being squared before, then absolutely understandably you're probably going to do this. It would be quite unusual and very smart of you if you realize to do this. But even experienced students will make this mistake, especially under exam conditions when they're feeling a little stress, because they don't write the bracket down twice. So my big recommendation here would be that if you ever see a bracket with a squared on it, even if you've done these a bunch of times before, just take a line of work in to write the bracket down twice. I still sometimes do that, just to give myself a little bit of headspace to think about what the answer is going to be, and then you can go ahead and process the terms like we did here and get to the correct final answer. So that's maybe something to keep in mind, both as an inexperienced student who's new to algebra and an experienced student. And similarly, I will see scenarios where the bracket is not being necessarily squared, but even for new algebra students where you've got two distinct brackets, and they'll do a similar thing. They'll kind of know they've got to start multiplying things together, so they'll multiply the x's together, they'll multiply the numbers together, so they'll be getting, in this case, x squared minus 10, but they'll forget about the x terms. And it's a slightly different scenario from over here, but kind of similar misinterpretation of what they need to do. So again, here we should have generated 4 terms by multiplying all these together, so it should have come out to be x squared, and then there are two x terms in the middle, so minus 2x, positive 5x, and then the minus 10, and then just tidying this up again with the two middle terms to get a plus 3x at minus 10. So similar scenario to this one, not quite the same. The two brackets are already there, but still again very easy to forget about these middle x terms. Just one third scenario to look at and to be mindful of, just to complete the whole sort of picture here, is when you've got two similar brackets, but one has got a positive number and one's got the same number but a negative. So if we go ahead and process this one correctly, so multiplying all the terms in the first bracket, all the terms in the second bracket, we're going to get an x squared, we're going to get a minus 2x, we're going to get a plus 2x, and then we're going to get a minus 4. But in this case, the x terms do cancel because we've got a negative 2x plus 2x, which is 0. So we do just end up with x squared minus 4. So the reason why I'm showing you that example is because there are scenarios when you are going to get something that looks like that, sort of, and it is correct. But the reason why this one is different, this is called a difference of two squares. And when you factorize a difference of two squares into two brackets, it does look like this. In other words, whatever number you've got here, the square root of that number goes here and here, with one positive and one negative. Doesn't matter which way the positive and negative go. So a few different scenarios there, but the main takeaway is that if you're particularly when you're seeing a bracket with a squared on it, write the bracket out twice and then process it fully rather than trying to skip straight to the final answer. So it's really, really easy to make all these little algebra slips, especially under exam conditions. So just take a moment to be mindful of what you're actually doing, and that's going to help you to avoid mistakes.